Hey, welcome back. I'm Katie Richardson. This is What's Working Now. We are talking about how you can hit your goals in 2024. This is a topic that brings many people into my world, and it's something I'm really passionate about because if you want something, well, dang it, I want you to have it. And I'm going to show you how. Last week was part 1. So if you're just now hearing this and you haven't heard part 1, hop back to last week's episode. I revealed the first of 3 unexpected but powerful steps in hitting your goals. And I've got a method and a process behind all of this. It's very unique to me, and it's something that has helped me accomplish really big things in this world, whether that's building a multi-million-dollar international empire, exiting that empire, building an incredible family with 4 beautiful children, homeschooling in Puerto Rico. I'm going to show you how to get the things that you uniquely want. And whether that is improving things in your business partnership, doubling or tripling your business revenue, exiting your company, bringing greater purpose to your business, whatever that goal and target is, I'm teaching you the principles. So you can take these principles and you can apply them to whatever goal and target that you have. And last week we talked about step number 1, which was what? Do you remember? I had flawed thinking. And that flawed thinking was, well, if I just put my head down and hustle and grind to $1 million, then everything else is going to fall into place. And the sad reality was that goal was incomplete. And I needed a new plan because there's 1,000 ways to get there. And my plan for getting there, keep your head down and hustle and grind. Well, it wasn't working. So I needed a new plan. And so today we're going to talk about step number 2. And what step number 2 teaches you is how this untapped resource can help you hit your goals without requiring more time, more energy, or more money. I specifically designed it this way because when I was in that moment, I didn't have any of those things. My time was maxed out. My energy was maxed out. My energy was drained and running out by about 10 a.m. And I was in the negative when it comes to money. Like I was literally at 0. So I needed something to catapult me forward that didn't require any more of those things because I didn't have them. I was at the limit. And, you know, maybe you're at the limit too. Maybe you even have a $11 million business and you're at the limit. I get it. And today's episode is going to show you that next step. The first was you need a new plan. And I want to tell you, I'm going to continue that story of where I realized what step number 2 is. Now, let's go back to that moment where I was in the kitchen, the dishwasher was running, the kids were asleep. It's funny because my husband was definitely not there. He was probably in my mother-in-law's basement also working on this problem at the same time because we built this together. And, you know, I'm sweeping up, I'm having a conversation with God, but it's more like I'm just mad at him and I'm in a wrestle, I'm arguing, and I'm feeling like you told me to do this. I took a leap of faith. I trusted you, and I'm running into all kinds of dead ends. It's not working. I'm failing on so many fronts. Yes, the business is growing, but it's pulling me apart. And so I'm at war with him. I'm at war with myself because this business was incompatible with the rest of my life. It was tearing those things apart. So it didn't make sense. And I'm frustrated. I'm mad. I'm scared. I'm conceiving as I even conceive of setting down the business and just not doing it anymore, which in a lot of ways, that would have been the easy thing to do. There was this future version of Katie that was terrified of that said, that's not okay. That said, no, stick with it. You got to figure this out. And I wanted to continue to develop my gifts and talents. And I knew this business was a really powerful vehicle to do that. And so I couldn't set it down. Maybe it was ego. I don't know, but I couldn't set it down. I wanted it in my life, but it just really felt like it was destroying everything. So I'm in this battle with God. I'm frustrated. It's not making sense. It's all incompatible. And yet I wanted it all. I didn't want to set any one of those things down. And as I'm in this moment of fear, anxiety, frantic energy, frustration, feeling depleted, feeling so tired, feeling really broke personally, mentally, emotionally, financially. I was at the bottom. And yet, like, I looked like a superstar. That was always the interesting thing. I looked like a superstar and like I had it all figured out. And I'm in this battle and this conversation with God, and he speaks to me in that moment. I really feel like it was inspiration. And he says, Katie, I'm actually trying to show him evidence that it doesn't work out, because I've walked it forward. I've played this scenario through so many times and it ends in complete destruction. And so I can't find the way forward where it all works out. And I had been reading books and magazines about other entrepreneurs who had done significant things in the world. And I had a lot of proof and evidence in their life experiences that said it doesn't end out in success. And so I had gone to the ends of the earth as best I could in 2010. Yeah, 2010. Again, social media wasn't around. So if you wanted to learn about somebody, you had to go check out their book at the library. So I'm trying to find who's figured this out. Like I need the model, the business model. Who's figured this out? And because the way I'm doing it is not working. And I can't find it. And it just has me scared. And I'm just trapped. I'm in this more than a double bind, like a quadruple bind. And I don't want to set that down, but I can't keep moving forward. And it's destroying me from the inside. And it's tearing me apart. It's creating friction in my marriage. It's creating all this tension and zero patience for my kids. And I have this new thought. It's inspiration. It's from God. And he says, Katie, I know that you're looking for proof that this all works out. And you've been looking for the model, the business model, the evidence that you can navigate all of these complex things. And you haven't found it. And that's scaring you. Quick question for you. What would happen in your business and life if you could show up powerfully? As a coach to high-performing entrepreneurs, I help intelligent people like you do just that. And if you want to be inspired by people who are getting more done in 90 days than most people do all year, I'm going to invite you to go check out my case studies. The website is now.katierichdson.com/case study. And the cool thing is we've got so many case studies there. You can find an entrepreneur who's just like you. I've also got a link for you down in the show notes. Okay, back to the show. But you don't need that proof, because I taught you creation. So while you might not see her, the woman that's capable of navigating all of these complex things, you don't need to see that. You can go and create her. And what's so fascinating, in that moment, my eyes went from searching for the business model to realizing that I was the key, that the model that needed growing, the entity that needed to grow and expand was me, not the business model. It was me. And all of a sudden, my creative mind went into design thinking mode on myself, on my life. And I knew exactly what to do. So to harken back to that question I asked in the beginning, what's that untapped resource that can help you hit your goals without requiring more time, energy, or money? It's you. You are the untapped resource. You are the secret to your business. You know, in my flawed thinking in the beginning, the business was the hero to my story. But in this new scenario that God had just placed in my mind, I was the hero to my story. Not the business. It was me. So while I was like the thing being torn from the inside out, and honestly, like the weak link in that moment, I could become the woman who was the reason why it was all successful. It was about me. And suddenly, through these elements of design thinking and focusing my design thinking on the right entity AKA me, suddenly all these ideas came rushing into my mind. Ways in which I could make changes and improve things, which would still allow me to hit my goals in all of the areas, by the way, in a way that I'd never seen before. Suddenly I could start to see it all being possible. And it was so exciting. You know, like I said previously, the business was the hero in the previous plan, in the previous scenario, and I got to be the hero. Well, that's pretty exciting. That's what I want. I don't want someone else to come in and save me. I don't need somebody else to come in and fix this. I want to fix it. And it starts by fixing me. Well, that's pretty cool. And so that's what I got to work doing, building my business from the inside out. So what's the second step? The second unexpected step to powerfully hitting your goals in 2024? It's you and building your business from the inside out. Now, I want to create a visual for you because I'm a really visual person. And in my first kind of belief and scenario, there was one big target. I had hypersimplified everything. There was one big target. And I had my head down. I was grinding towards hitting that one big target. I'm actually holding up a picture of a giant target. Okay. And in this next scenario, it was acknowledging that there was more than just one target in my life. It was acknowledging the fact that I cared about my marriage, cared about my relationship with God, cared about my relationship with my kids, my health. And there were a whole host of other things, right? Being a woman of my word, being a woman of integrity, you know, delivering real value into the world, utilizing my gifts and talents to do that, solving problems for people. Those were all of my targets. And so I'm holding up an image, but you probably can't see it. So I'm just going to describe it. What I started to see was, okay, there's me in the center, and then there's all these targets that I'm surrounded by. And I just need to take my bow and arrow and just acknowledge that there's more than one target, that I have many targets. And it's all of those different areas of my life that matter to me. I knew I couldn't set any one of them down. I knew they all mattered to me. I knew I would get to the end of my life. And if I'd set any one of those things down, then I would regret it. And that potential regret was enough to push me to try and solve this problem. And so in design, you have to understand all of the constraints and variables. And in the previous model, I was just focusing on one thing. And it was flawed thinking, because the reality is I had many things in my life that I cared about. And so in design, you have to define the constraints. You have to acknowledge all of the variables. And I had been arbitrarily blocking things out and only focusing on the business, but it meant that I was being pulled in so many different directions. It wasn't working. And so I needed to bring to my plan all of the things that mattered to me, including my health, including my marriage and my relationship with my kids, my relationship with God. Like all of that had to be part of the plan. And I needed targets on all of those things. So this image that you can't see that I'm holding up, it's a stick figure of me holding a bow and an arrow. And it's all of these targets and scattered targets and bullseyes. Yeah, targets. They're all spread out all over across me. I feel like I'm not describing that very well. They're everywhere. They're everywhere you look. There's another target. And it was like, okay, I have to acknowledge all of these variables, and they all have to be part of the plan. And yet, they were still pulling me in so many different directions. And that's where we're going to end today's episode. Like, it was important to acknowledge all of them. I now understood that I was the key component of all of this, not the business, and that I needed to build the business from the inside out. What in the world does that even look like? And what does it look like for me to become the woman, the entrepreneur, the leader who's capable of all of these things? I didn't have the answers to those, but I was asking that question. And there was this glimmer of hope that presented itself as I started to have this new vision of what's possible. And so step number 2 is you have more than one target. And the key to hitting those goals is you.